The last Monday in May. Mom was up early, Dad was already outside doing something with the grill, and somewhere in the neighborhood you could already smell it. That unmistakable mix of charcoal smoke and cut grass that meant summer was here. Memorial Day weekend. The sound, the smells, the rituals. They all come flooding back. Do you remember them? Here are 15 Memorial Day memories that'll take you right back. Be sure to stick around for the last one, because what started as a feeling was some of your fondest memories. Will you share them with your kids and grandkids this year? The Cookout. It wasn't a gas grill, that was for sure. Nobody in your neighborhood was flipping a knob on Memorial Day. This was the real thing. A pile of charcoal, the lighter fluid, and that exciting moment when Dad tossed a lit match. Kingsford charcoal was the brand of choice in most driveways. You could smell it from 2 houses down, and once it was going, everyone was waiting with paper plates for the hot dogs, hamburgers, and corn on the cob. Maybe you also had deviled eggs, baked beans from a can, and some chips. You carefully walked over to a lawn chair, balanced your plate on your knee, careful not to drop anything, and had your first bite of the year from the grill.
Memorial Day Cookout.
The pool. The community pool opened Memorial Day weekend. Maybe it was your backyard pool getting uncovered and filled for the first time since last September. Either way, you were going in. The water was always colder than you thought, almost shockingly cold, but there was no way you were going to chicken out. You cannonballed in, immediately regretted it, then did it again. The smells of chlorine and warm May air is the smell of summer. Flip-flops on hot concrete, wet towels, the lifeguard whistle. Just like that, summer began.
For families seeking cool relief from the summer's heat, you'll find lots of liquid refreshment with 3 colossal water parks, all located within 2 miles of each other.
Bombpops. Red, white, and blue, cherry on top, lime in the middle, raspberry at the bottom, or maybe it was the other way around. It didn't matter. The Bomb Pop was the official frozen treat of Memorial Day weekend. If you heard the ice cream truck on a May afternoon and it had Bomb Pops, that made your day. On a hot day, you'd eat it fast, watching the colors bleed into this purple mess on your hand and shirt. Mom watched helplessly. There was something perfectly patriotic about a popsicle shaped like a rocket.
And we're going to tilt our shot glass to the side to run the chilled grenadine down the side and push it to the bottom. And there we have the Bomb Pop shot.
The parade. You didn't need to live in a big city to have a parade. Every town had one. The high school band, a few fire trucks with sirens just long enough to scare the little kids, and then the veterans, the old-timers in their VFW cats. Some rode in convertibles. Others marched as steadily as they could manage. The crowd always got quieter as they came by. Your parents stood up straighter. Your dad took off his hat. You didn't fully understand it at the time, but you knew it meant something. Kids lined the curb, waving little paper flags on sticks. You had fun, but you also felt something new that you hadn't felt before. Proud. The Sunday paper and white sale. The Sunday paper on Memorial Day weekend was as thick as a phone book. You could barely lift it off the porch. Inside were pages of full-page ads from every department because the Memorial Day white sale was a retail institution. Sheets, towels, and pillowcases were all on sale at Sears, JCPenney, and Montgomery Ward. There was always a tribute section featuring local veterans in black and white photos, along with maybe a flag etiquette guide. Your mom went through the whole thing with scissors. She cut coupons and circled things while you grabbed the comics. By morning, the paper was spread across the entire kitchen table. Mom was ready to shop. If you went along, you spent 20 minutes standing next to a display of towels wondering when she was done, and you can head to the toy store.
The big Memorial Day sale through Monday. Nobody helps you sail into summer like Sears.
Fleet Week. If you grew up in New York, San Francisco, or another port city that hosted Fleet Week, you knew it was coming before even seeing it. The ships arrived. Suddenly, the harbor looked different. Destroyers, aircraft carriers, and amphibious assault ships lined up along the waterfront like a scene from a movie. In New York, sailors in their dress whites appeared everywhere in Manhattan. That was its own spectacle. But the real draw was getting on board. On select days, the ships were open to the public. You could walk the flight deck of an aircraft carrier and get a unique view of the city skyline. You stood next to things that blew your mind: guns, engines, and aircraft. You couldn't believe how big everything was. The Navy and Marine Corps demonstrations drew huge crowds. For many kids, Fleet Week made the military feel real, not just something on the news.
New York, a wonderful town. The Bronx is up and the Battery's down. The people ride in a hole in the ground. New York, it's a wonderful town.
Air shows. Memorial Day weekend air shows were on another level. Military air bases and municipal airports across the country opened their gates. If your dad was the type to plan ahead, you were there. The Blue Angels, the Navy's precision flight team, and the Air Force Thunderbirds were the headliners. Nothing could prepare you for what it felt like when 6 jets screamed overhead in a tight formation. The sound hit you a half second after the planes had already gone by. You felt it in your chest. People in the crowd stood up, heads up, mouths open, squinting at the blue sky. Between performances, you could walk right up to the aircraft on the tarmac. F-16s, FA-18s, and old prop planes from World War II. If you were lucky and in the right spot, you could sit in a cockpit. The whole thing felt like something only important people got to do, and that made it unforgettable. The road trip. Memorial Day weekend was the first real road trip of the year. America had plenty of places to choose from. Families packed into station wagons and headed for the Jersey Shore, the Poconos, Lake Tahoe, the Smokies, or somewhere like it. The car was loaded the night before, cooler in the trunk, pillows and blankets for the back seat, a paper road map in the glove compartment, even if Dad already knew the way. Your family left before sunrise to beat the traffic, but there was still traffic on the highway. The drive was half the experience. Somebody always needed a bathroom at the wrong time. There were rest stops at 7-Eleven, Howard Johnson's, and McDonald's. You rolled the windows down once you got close to the water or the mountains. You could finally smell the fresh air. Lake George, New York, Put-in Bay, and Lake Erie, Virginia Beach, it didn't matter where. The whole family was in the car going somewhere together for the holiday.
The family joining more than 42 million Americans traveling this Memorial Day weekend, 7% more than last year, and 37 million of those travelers driving to their destinations.
War movies. Back in the day, what was on TV? Action-packed war movies, of course. All of them, back to back. Patton, The Longest Day, Bridge on the River Kwai, The Dirty Dozen, and Battle of the Bulge. You'd turn the knob on all 3 channels and the UHF station. If it was raining and you couldn't go outside, you ended up watching a World War II film with your dad or your papa. You asked questions you'd never asked before. The movies were long. The battles were huge. They may have been movies, but you appreciated the men who fought for our country. Indianapolis 500. For decades, the Indy 500 and Memorial Day were inseparable. Race day was always on, whether anyone in your house was a racing fan or not. ABC broadcast it for years. Jim McKay's voice made it feel like a major event. The whole family ended up in front of the TV at some point during the afternoon. Maybe just for the starting grid, or maybe for the whole thing. "Gentlemen, start your engines," echoed through living rooms across America. You could hear from the kitchen where Mom was making a potato salad. It was background noise that became a tradition.
The new mown hay sends all its fragrance.
Flag in. Your family did this on Saturday before or Monday morning. If your family had veterans buried nearby, there was a trip to the cemetery. The American Legion and VFW volunteers had often already placed small flags. By the time your family arrived, there were rows of them fluttering quietly in the May breeze. You helped carry flowers. You watched the adults get serious in a way that they didn't at home. Maybe someone told you a story about the person whose name was on the stone. It was one of the first times as a kid that you knew life was precious. There were heroes you couldn't see. Does your family have a World War II hero? Baseball. Memorial Day weekend and baseball have always gone hand in hand. Baseball's still our national pastime. By the last Monday in May, the season was a month in, and you hope this might be the year your team wins the World Series. If your dad was a baseball guy, there was a good chance part of the weekend was spent at the ballpark. You stood for the national anthem, cap off, and took the words to heart. For 2 minutes, the whole crowd was completely still. It was beautiful. The ballpark had its own smell: hot dogs, fresh cut grass, and popcorn. The crack of the bat excited you. You had your glove ready to catch a foul ball. There was no better place to be with your family. If you couldn't make it to a game, you'd watch it on TV or listen on the transistor radio. What team did you root for growing up? Taps. If you were at a cemetery, a parade, or a VFW service, you heard it. 24 notes. Yes, that's all it is. Just 24 notes played on a bugle, usually from somewhere just out of sight, and it stopped everyone cold, every single time. Kids who'd been goofing around went completely still. Adults who weren't expecting it stopped talking. You didn't have to be a history buff. You didn't need to know who was being honored. Every time you hear it, something about those notes hits deep into your soul. Watermelon. Someone always showed up with one at the cookout. Where did it come from? You learned years later that it was from the back of someone's pickup truck. It sat in a cooler or on the picnic table, looking enormous, waiting to be eaten. There was a whole ritual around eating it. Dad held the big melon down firm with one hand and punctured it with a big knife. You heard the crackling sound of two halves split open. You were handed a slice and took your first mouth-watering bite. The juices squirted onto your shirt, down your arm, and on the grass. You challenged your cousins to see who could spit the seeds the farthest and were warned not to swallow them because you might grow a watermelon in your stomach.
And of course, king of the picnics is what? Yes, watermelons, always king of the Memorial Day picnics.
The feeling. This one isn't something you can hold, smell, or hear. It's just a feeling. But it was real, and every kid knew exactly what it was. You woke up Monday morning, and even before you got outside, something felt different. School was almost over. The feeling was carefree. No school, no responsibilities. You didn't realize it then, but summer made up many of our core memories. Playing with neighborhood kids, going to the movies, and swimming in the pool. When Memorial Day weekend comes around, the memories flood right back. It was a day to remember the people who came before us, and a time to celebrate with family. The cookouts and the ceremonies, the bombpops and the bugles, they all belong together. There you have it. Which one of these was a core memory? Do you remember a family road trip? Are you planning to go somewhere for the holidays? Let us know in the comments.